Welcome to week 3, everyone. This is going to be a good week. It's all about cell structures and classification of life. One of my favorite weeks. So let's see what we've got going on. All right, last week you learned about the chemistry of life. You learned some chemistry so that we can all speak the same language in biology. You learned about the importance of water in cells, that it's there to absorb heat, it's there to be a solvent, it's there to adhere and cohere to other molecules, including other water molecules. You learned about carbon, the element that forms the backbone of all the organic molecules, and you learned about the 4 groups of organic molecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. So now we're all speaking the same language when we go forward. So the topics for this week are classification and cell structures. Classification is grouping organisms into categories of like organisms. So why is that important? We just do this automatically as human beings, and just as animals we do this. And that's so that we understand the world without having to experience each and every organism as a new one when you approach it. So classifying helps to define that organism because it's like other organisms that are like it. It has the same structures, has the same behaviors, so we can predict what's going to happen with this thing before we ever even encounter it for the first time. You're going to learn about cell structures, and you're going to learn about prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are all bacterial cells. So this includes the eubacteria in the domain eubacteria, and all the bacteria that are called archaebacteria that are in the domain archaea. These are considered ancient, though actually we believe they evolved later than the eubacteria. But they live in very extreme environments, so down deep in the ocean, in the saltiest bodies of water, in hot springs that have boiling water in them, in ice. That's where you find archaebacteria. All the rest of the bacteria, you consider them eubacteria or true bacteria. So bacteria have very simple cell structures. They are tiny cells. They aren't big enough to hold a nucleus. So they don't have nuclei, mitochondria, chloroplasts. They just aren't big enough for that. They have more simple cell structures. And that's going to be important to us. And I'll mention that again in a minute. The eukaryotes, or eukaryotic cell structures, are complex. Eukaryotic cells are complex. They have organelles. Organelles are little membrane-bound compartments inside cells, like a nucleus, like mitochondria that make ATP. We're going to learn about ATP next week. Adenosine triphosphate, the energy molecule in cells. Eukaryotic cells, have endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatuses, and so many other types of organelles, vacuoles, and all sorts of other ones. So you're going to learn about that this week. Don't forget to read your chapters. Chapter 20, Section 1 will be important for you. And also Chapter 4 in your OpenStax textbook. Don't forget to use that because it's a free textbook online, very easy to search, very easy to find information in. You can search for a single term and look through that whole textbook and find every time that term shows up. So that is amazing. So use your textbook. Read your Module 3 overview and watch the videos, in particular the cute one on the human microbiome. So the microbiome is all the microorganisms and microbes that make up the organisms that live in and on you as a human being. This is a very hot field of research right now because we really haven't paid attention to this much in microbiology until maybe 15 or 20 years ago. We started thinking about that. Well, what are all these organisms that live on and in us, and are they important to our health? Do they make us sick? And of course the answer is that most of them help to make us healthy. A lot of them keep out pathogens. They fight off pathogens. Pathogens are disease-causing microbes. They fight them off with all kinds of different defense mechanisms because our microbes are well suited to all the different ecosystems on and in us. So if you think about the inside of your nose is very different from your armpit, is very different from the inside of your large intestine. So we have all different kinds of ecosystems in and on us, and we have microbes in these places. Now, we don't have microbes everywhere. So if you think about it, if you look at your digestive tract, if you start at the beginning of the stomach, you don't have any microbes because the stomach is a very hostile environment. There's a tremendous amount of acid that you produce that helps you break down your food. So you don't have any there. You don't have any for most of your small intestine, and that's because you dump in a whole bunch of digestive enzymes into that area when food is being digested, because how are you going to break down your food? You do it enzymatically, and that is in the small intestine. Now, when you get on down to the large intestine, that's where you find the largest quantity of microbes in the whole body, including on your skin. And they do help with digestion. They help make vitamin K for us. They help keep us healthy. So you're going to learn all about that, the microbiome, and we're going to talk about some antibiotic resistance also. I have a video that I'll put in the announcements of a Harvard study showing antibiotic resistance in E. coli bacteria over an 11-day period. It's an experiment that is done over 11 days, and you see what happens as they increase the amount of antibiotic that's present in the agar and what happens to those bacteria. It is an amazing study. When I first saw it, I was just in awe. Like, wow, why hadn't we thought of this sooner? It's just an amazing visualization of antibiotic resistance. So be sure to watch that. That will help you. Okay, so what do you have due this week? You have discussion board postings. You're going to have these due every week until we get to the end of the term. So in your initial post, you're going to talk about why antibiotics target bacterial cells and not ours. So first of all, what is an antibiotic? An antibiotic is a chemical that you take in or on the body that kills bacterial cells. Okay, you don't take antibiotics for viral infections. There are antiviral drugs. There are antifungal drugs. These are not considered antibiotics because they don't kill bacteria. They kill their own targets, viruses and fungi. And of course, antiviral drugs don't kill viruses because we don't consider viruses alive, but they prevent them from replicating, making copies of themselves. So antibiotics target bacterial cells. Well, if you think about it, this chemical is designed to kill some cells, the bacterial cells. So why don't they kill our cells? It's a really good question and a really important question. We have found antibiotics that will kill bacteria, but problemo, they also destroy our cells, and that is not a good thing. So why do antibiotics target bacterial cells and not ours? It's really important to look at the difference in our cell structures because that's what these antibiotics target, differences between bacteria and us. And how does the use of antibiotics, our use of antibiotics, increase the rate of antibiotic resistance, including the production of superbugs like MRSA, which is methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus? So why is it that the way that we're using antibiotics is producing these antibiotic-resistant bacteria? And there are whole lots of answers to this, including people taking them incorrectly, being prescribed antibiotics when you shouldn't, and so many others, giving antibiotics to livestock, just people taking them incorrectly, like, oh, okay, I'm going to save these antibiotics. I feel better now. I'm going to save them until I get sick again. So there's so many reasons for this. And we've got to stop it because we're running out of successful and effective antibiotics to use when we get bacterial infections. In your response post, because you'll have 2 of those due by Sunday night, you need to talk about the use of antibiotics in livestock. This is a very controversial topic because It is effective in helping keep the cost down of the meats that we buy as food. But the problem is that we're creating antibiotic-resistant bacteria in these food animals, in the livestock, the chickens, turkeys, etc. So you're going to be looking up some information about that. Don't forget that your initial post is due by Thursday night, and your 2 response posts are due by Sunday night. All right, and then you're also going to begin your final project. So we have 3 different milestones, milestone 1, 2, and 3, and then you have the final project where you put all the information together from the 3 milestones. Milestone 1 is due at the end of this week. If you have not chosen your topic already, and you don't see it on the list in the guidelines and rubric for this milestone, then you must ask me about using a different topic than one that is listed. And I've heard from several of you and I've okayed them. But just take a look. You've got to pick your topic this week if you didn't last week. You got to pick it and start working on it. I'll have a link to the milestone 1 guidelines and rubric. Be sure to follow this. This is terribly important. This is where most people get their points knocked off because they're not following the instructions. Use the correct format. This is an outline of the introduction and your topic sections. But an outline doesn't mean 1 word or 2 words. It means an outline with details. Do not write this as an essay because this is not a journal entry. This is specific information about your topic that I need to see. So use the correct format and also label all the sections just like are outlined in the milestone 1 guidelines and rubric. So introduction is the top, then topic and where and how and who. I need those labels on the sections so I know that you know what section you're talking about. Okay, so your final project begins now, this week. This is what the guidelines and rubric look like for milestone 1. This is the first page. But I just want to emphasize again, here's the list of topics, population ecology. I talked about all these last week in the announcements. So you might want to go back and watch that little video. And how you narrow down some of these topics because some of these are just gigantic. Waste management. Of what? Of where? In the whole world? I mean, oh my goodness. You got to narrow down some of these because they are just too gigantic. So here you also see this outline format. Number 1, introduction. Number 2, topic, and then under topic. Where? Where does this happen? Where does the air pollution in Arizona, in Tempe, Arizona, occur? What are the ecosystems? Is it just in the city? Okay, so where? How does it happen? So how does this issue, how does this problem happen? This is going to be a section that you need to explain. And you see what it says, analyze the process. It doesn't just say industrial waste is how air pollution happens. So analyze it. You're going to be writing some information here. Who are the species that benefit from this particular topic? If you're talking about eutrophication, well, the algae definitely benefit from eutrophication. Do the fish? No. Do human beings? Yes, because we put fertilizer in the runoff. We don't care about it. We just let it dump into the ocean or into the rivers, lakes, ponds, wherever. And so human beings benefit. Okay, so this is the type of thing that you're going to be doing for this week for milestone 1. All right, and tip of the week is always to put your assignments in the correct format, which I already have mentioned, but I will emphasize it. Create an outline for your introduction. This is part of the guidelines and rubric for milestone 1. I just copied sections of this. You will use this outline to make your slides for your final project in week 7. submitted as a Word document, double spaced, which is important. Please do not single space. That makes it harder to read. And, that's just aggravating. Make it easy for me to read. And I don't particularly care about what kind of font, but don't make it goofy and don't make it pink colored and, make it easy for me to read. 1 or 2 pages, include in-text citations and a reference page. For all 3 of the milestones, you will use resources, references, okay? You're backing up what you're saying. That's why you use resources and references. This is not your opinion, okay? I mean, you can have an opinion about your topic, but you need to back up what you say with what other people have found, what other people who are experts say about this particular topic. Okay, so reiterate, tip of the week, put your assignments in the correct format. Always look for this in your instructions wherever they are for whatever assignment it is that you turn in, especially in an online class, but anywhere, of course. And I hope that you have a good week. You can always contact me if you're having any issues or problems, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. Please let me know if I can help you in any way. Email me. I will answer you as quickly as I can. And I hope that you have a wonderful week this week. Let me know if you need anything.